listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. You have the one, the only Sportcat, often imitated, never duplicated. Come over and find me on the YouTubes. Search out the Sportcat shows. Get that thumbs up button, some love, and also a sub. So you can join the chat. We got some great people like Denise. Good morning, Denise, or good afternoon, depending on, well, no, it's good afternoon for you. It's good morning for Chris. So, well, it was up until 13 minutes ago. So good morning to you. Let me turn this echo off here in my head. That'll make it somewhat better. All right, how's that? So I hope everybody's having a great day. It is Friday. It just can't come quick enough. Holy cow. I am so ready for Friday. I am actually sick and tired of being sick and tired. It seems like I'm always tired, and I'm just over it. So, all right, well, we're going to start off. It is currently 1:14 on the East Coast, where I am in New York City area. And, well, good morning to you if you're in Denver. Good morning in Chicago. No, it's good afternoon in Chicago. Good morning in Los Angeles. Good morning in Anchorage, and good morning in Honolulu. And for our friends overseas, it's 1:14 in the morning a.m. in Perth, Usula. It's 1:59. It's kind of odd seeing that. In Darwin, it's 2:44. In Sydney, 3:14. Lord Howe, 3:44. Well, if you're in Bermuda, which we should all be in Bermuda, singing a Beach Boys song, it's 2:14 in the afternoon. Oh, Chris says, I have no complaints today. Not that I didn't disagree with Ross at all. He had no sound. The only thing I heard when I went into Ross's studio was Heterodyne, which is like a feedback loop on the radio. And I was like, what is he doing? So, but yeah. So, but I don't know. We're here, we're live, and hopefully they can get it figured out in Australia. If not, I'm sure they will replay this. So it'll be overnight there. I think they replay this overnight on Dare Talk Radio. I'll have to look at the exact schedule if anybody's interested. And I do encourage everybody, go over sometime and check out some of Radio X's station. They got a country, they got an oldies, they got a rock station, which is Radio X. And what else do they have? I think they have a classic. They have all kinds of channels besides for just talk and rock. So go check them out sometime if you want to hear some new music. It's not the K-pop, which people are trying to talk me into listening to. I might try listening to it. I don't know. So, all right, well, let's go back in history. Let's go back to 1526, the Battle of Mohawks. In a decisive battle, the kingdom of Hungary is conquered by the Ottoman Empire, led by Suleiman the Magnificent. Wonder if he really was magnificent. 1825, Portugal recognizes the independence of its former colony, Brazil. 1842, the UK and China signed the Treaty of Nanking, ending the First Opium War. That's not a good thing to have a battle over, is opium. 1862, the Second Battle of Bull Run. It begins in Manassas, Virginia, leading to a leading to a Confederate victory in the U.S. Civil War. 1949, the Soviet Union secretly performs its first successful nuclear weapons test at the Semipalatinsk site in Kazakhstan. That's Afghanistan, isn't it? In 2005, Hurricane Katrina. Ooh, that was a time in history in the U.S. Makes its landfall third as a Category 3 hurricane, devastating much of the Gulf Coast from Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle, killing more than 1,836 people, costing $115 billion in damage. If my daughter's listening, she'll remember this well, because the weekend before this, I had just dropped her off at college in Pensacola. She was going to Pensacola Junior College. And then she was going to go to, what was it, University of Central Florida? I don't know. It was another college right there in Pensacola. And as I was getting ready to leave, they were starting to talk about the hurricane was going to make a turn and come in and do this and that. And we were like, oh, well, maybe we just got her apartment. We just got her furniture. We just got everything set up. We'd stocked her freezer, her refrigerator. And I was like, well, Tiffany, I'm going to leave. And from what I'm hearing, I won't be able to come back. And I was like, choice is yours. Do you want to stay or do you want to come back? And I'll bring you back in a week or so when it all clears. She's like, nah, it'll probably be okay. It wasn't. She stayed. And then by the time she decided to bail, it was too late. All the roads were closed coming in. You could only go out. So she rode it out. My wife has some family in Pensacola. She rode it out on their farm, and it was a crazy few weeks there. 1967, the final TV episode of The Fugitive, starring David Jansen, is watched by 78 million people. 1958, Cliff Richard and the Drifters released their debut single, Move It, credited as the first British rock and roll song. I have to go back and listen to that one. I don't recall that one. 1882, Australia beats England by 7 runs in a match dubbed the Death of English Cricket, as Australian fast bowler Fred Spoofworth takes 14 to 90, 7 of 46 and 7 of 44. Wow, interesting. All right, I have still yet to watch a complete cricket game and try and make sense of it. So maybe, Chris, is that a sport you understand? Because I'll be honest, I don't. 1533, the last Inca emperor is executed. Chris's note to self: never let Glenn help me move anywhere near an ocean. Yeah, that's probably true. Probably true. And I was a firefighter paramedic. I should have been paying attention to the weather, but didn't work on it. So, cricket is okay. I'm not sure what you're saying. No, I guess he's saying no, he doesn't watch cricket. So, okay. Let's see. The last emperor of the Inca is executed by conquistador Francis Pizarro. The leader was known for being brave and ambitious, and he had recently led his forces to victory in a civil war against his half-brother over control of the empire. But in November 1532, he accepted an invitation to dine with Pizarro, who had him captured. He held him for 9 months, accepting his ransom of 24 tons, of gold and silver before killing him. Well, that was nice of him. Chris says cricket is a mystery. Gotcha. Check. In 1911, the last surviving member of the Yahi tribe emerges in California. Ishi, the last known member of the indigenous Yahi people, emerges from the wilderness in Orville, California. He lived in isolation for years after his tribe was destroyed by genocide. Ishi means man in the Yahi language. He was given the name because his people's tradition demanded that he could not speak his own name until introduced by another Yahi. Since he was the last remaining tribe member, however, he died without ever revealing his true name. It's sad. 1939, the Louvre begins moving art out of the museum. In Paris, France begins moving art pieces out of the museum to keep incoming Nazi forces from taking or destroying them. Supported by the Monuments Men, an allied civilian art rescue operation, they successfully prevented Nazis from getting their hands on some of the world's most priceless art. 1956. Denise says, how what, Denise? How being a firefighter paramedic, did I do that? I don't know. It could have been my wife's doing. 1956, Gigi Allen is born. Punk rock legend Gigi Allen is born in New Hampshire, known for his intense music and performance. Gigi Allen is one of the most shocking hardcore punk artists of all times. After growing up in a strict and abusive religious home, he sought to rebel. He initially looked to cross-dressing music and drugs to fulfill his needs. Later in life, his music career began taking off, and he gained a reputation as a madman on stage, often fighting audience members, defecating and pouring blood all over himself. Man, we thought Ozzy was wild. In 1993, Allen was found dead due to an overdose after one of his shows. Today, G.G. Allin is known as one of the most outrageous artists to ever live. Let's see, 1958. She says she been high. Hello, Denise. In 1958, Michael Jackson, the great MJ, the king of pop, is born in Gary, Indiana. From a young age, he was thrust into the music industry, performing in the Jackson 5 with his siblings when he was just 6 years old. He went on to become one of the most famous and successful musical artists in history. Later life was marked by numerous controversies, including accusations of sexually abusing children. He died in 2009 after suffering from cardiac arrest, which is caused by a lethal combination of drugs. And we talked about Katrina, so enough about it. My daughter remembers it. I should text her and wish her a good day just to get yelled at. All right, so I think I'm going to keep this piece for a bit because it seemed to work yesterday. Except this wasn't the one. Damn it. This isn't the one. I was so far behind this morning. I was trying to get the right one. I thought this was the one. No, I guess this wasn't. Last word. I don't know where I found. Man, I lost that one from yesterday. I like to do, and because it told the number of days in the year and da 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 da. February 3rd, 2023. Was this it? Yes, this was it. Andrew McNeil, the almanac for 29 August 2025. So today is the 241st day of 2025 and the 71st day of summer. Today in history, in 1949, the Soviet Union conducted its first atomic bomb test. 1957, Democrat Senator Strom Thurmond of South Carolina, concluded his over 24-hour-long filibuster against the Civil Rights Act of 1957. We forget that, don't we? He's still a senator, right? In 1991, the Parliament of the Soviet Union suspended all Communist Party activities. 2005, Cat 3 storm came into New Orleans. We know about that. Today's birthday, John Locke. He's a philosopher. Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr., an author. Ingrid Bergman, she was an actress. Charlie Parker, musician. Richard Attenborough, filmmaker. William Friedkin, film director. John McCain, well, he was a senator. Elliot Gould, an actor. Joel Schumer, a film director. G.G. Allin, singer-songwriter. I was the punk rock guy. MJ, know who he is. Michael Jackson. Lee Michelle, actress. Liam Payne, the singer-songwriter. Today's fact, Senator Strom Thurmond's 1957 filibuster against civil rights remains the longest one-man filibuster in history. It lasted 24 hours, 18 minutes, and opened with Thurmond reading the voting laws of all 48 states. God, that was boring. Today in sports, 1977, the St. Louis Cardinals left fielder Lou Brock stole 2 bases to match then break Ty Cobb's record for career stolen bases, which had stood at 892 bases for 49 years. Today's quote, "Don't play the saxophone, let it play you," from Charlie Parker. Today's number, 175, the top wind speed in miles per hour during Hurricane Katrina. Today's moon, well, it's between a new moon and a first quarter moon. So there you go. Oh, I kind of like that one. Maybe let me know what you think. Yeah, no kidding. Let me text her. She seems to forget about me too often, and it annoys me. Let me just message her and tell her to get in my chat. I'm looking back at her chat, and every other one is get in my chat. So we need macadam in it. So today it's National Lemon Juice Day. Hey, I could go for a glass of lemonade. I like lemonade. Wait a minute, I got get out of that. Goodness gracious. My one job is I push buttons. That's what I do. And then I talk. And both of those seem difficult to me some days. National Lemon Juice Day. According to Hoyle Day. Who's Hoyle? All right, I'm going down a rabbit hole here. Let's see. Who is Hoyle? And according to Hoyle Day, we honor Edmund Hoyle, who is best known for his definitive book on rules and regulations of the popular board and card games of his time. His vast knowledge of gameplay and rules became the final word, with many people verifying a rule by saying, according to Hoyle. Hey, I wonder if there's a Hoyle book of rules for Big Brother. I've never actually seen the rules for Big Brother. They're out there somewhere. The anniversary of the Slavic National Uprising, my wife's people. College Color Day. Yeah, I should be wearing Tennessee orange today. Dang it. It's the founding anniversary of the Senate. And it's Individual Rights Day. We all have rights. International Day Against Nuclear Tests. I can get behind that. More herbs, less salt. Definitely agree with that. Give me jalapeno. So Chris wants to know, how did he speak for 24 hours without peeing? Maybe he had a catheter. I don't know. He was pretty old. National Chop Suey Day. National Sports Day. See, they're just saying that it's National Sports Day because they don't want to acknowledge that it's opening weekend of college football. So that's what it is. And it's the Quixie Festival. Sorry, I want to know what a Quixie is. It's observed on August 29th, and it's based on the ancient romantic fable of two lovers, Zi and Niang, who were Weaver Girl and a Coward, respectively, is popularly known in this as the Chinese Valentine's Day. Okay, well, do they use chocolate? Do they celebrate with chocolate over there? I don't know. Are they not chocolate people? I don't know. I'm going to wander and babble a lot today. National Sports Sampling Day. Oh, that's just a weak way of saying it's college football opening weekend. According to Hoyle, National College Colors and the Chop Suey Day. I never did learn to eat with chopstick. My son is very proficient, but not me. Henry Berg, he's an actor and founder of the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. He was born in 1813. Charles Kettering, he founded the Delco Electronics Company and invented the auto self-starter. We really appreciate that. Jackie Mitchell. Now, but the guy, though, that invented the little push the button to open the door thing, not a fan of. Jackie Mitchell, one of America's first female pitchers who struck out Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. I did not know that. One of America's first female pitchers, and she struck out the great Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. I had never heard that. Isabel Sanford, actors fondly remembered as her role in Louise Wheezy Jefferson in The Jeffersons. Iris Apfel, a famous interior designer and fashion designer, remembered for her flamboyant style, outspoken personality, and oversized eyeglasses. Wendell Scott, the first black driver to win a race at NASCAR. I don't remember that. And Richard Blackwell, fashion designer and critic who created the iconic 10 worst dressed women list. You can't do that anymore. John McCain, former Navy captain and POW, and later to go on to become a senator. Temple Grandin, an acoustic academic author and ethologist who advocated for the humane treatment of livestock for slaughter and autism. Boy, that's two weird ones. One of the ethical treatment of livestock that were going to be slaughtered and autism. Okay. The King of Pop we talked about. Memorable events. 1758, the first American Indian reservation is established in Indian Mills, New Jersey. In 1862, the U.S. Department of Treasury forms the U.S. Bureau of Engraving strictly to print newly created classified paper. They make money. And by the way, I heard a rumor. I need to go research this. Did President Trump say that he was going to put himself on the $500 bill and we were going to start making the $500 bill again? Or is this just something sent out on the interwebs to people who have Trump derangement syndrome? And who carries a $500 bill in their pocket? I mean, really? Hey, Wendell, welcome. Glad you're here. Glad you were here. The Mount Washington Cog Railway opens and becomes the world's first mountain climbing rack railway in 1869. 1885, the first heavyweight title fight is held between John Sullivan and Dominic McCaffrey. Chop suey is supposedly invented in New York City by the chef of visiting Chinese diplomat Li Hongzhang. 1898, the Goodyear Tire Company is founded in Akron. 1916, Congress creates the U.S. Naval Reserve. 1958, the U.S. Air Force Academy opens in Colorado. 1997, Mark Randolph and Reed Hastings found Netflix as an internet DVD rental service. Can you even do that anymore? 2003, Skype, which is now Microsoft, releases their video conferencing software. All right, let's move onward and upwards, and we'll just jump into some strange news right off the top of the bat here. Wendell, where were you? Customers tried to kidnap a bikini barista. Your takeout order from one of those Sexpresso coffee stands does not include a complimentary bikini-clad barista. No, that costs you much more money. A 19-year-old Washington State man is facing a kidnapping charge for allegedly trying to pull a female out of the drive-thru window of the Ladybug Bikini Espresso stand and into his vehicle. Investigators allege that Ezekiel Guerrero drove into the 24-hour coffee shop earlier this month and placed a 2:15 order with the female worker on duty. The business is located in the Lakewood suburb of Tacoma. While preparing Guerrero's drink, the victim said he exchanged small talk with the customer, who was wearing a blue hat and a Los Angeles Dodgers jersey and a designer jeans. The woman said she handed Guerrero a clipboard with a receipt that needed his signature. When he partially extended the clipboard back to the barista, she reached out to accept it. That is when Guerrero allegedly grabbed the victim by the arm and attempted to pull her through the window towards his car. The woman told cops she had braced her legs against a counter, which kept her from being pulled out of the drive-thru window. The victim was able to shut the window while the patron fled the area. When police interviewed the barista, she was frantic and appeared genuinely frightened and had red marks on her wrist, inner bicep, and shoulder. The incident was recorded by a security camera. Cops reported it showed that Guerrero violently seizes the barista by the arm, and the woman eventually breaks his grasp before tugging back and forth as she slid the window shut. Well, she didn't have the thing of coffee in her hand at that time. She should have just let it go. He paid for his drink with a MasterCard in his name. How stupid can you be? How stupid can you be? He paid for a MasterCard in his name. He confessed to detectives that he had been drinking alcohol and smoking marijuana before the incident and was, quote, fucked up. Well, that's pretty true. Claiming he did not intend to hurt her, he said that he had been feeling sad, angry, and isolated due to a recent relationship problem with his former girlfriend, and he went to the Ladybug stand to see a pretty girl. Investigators reported that he recognized that his behavior was impulsive, denied having any anger or hatred towards the woman in general, and maintained that his conduct did not reflect his character. Charges with attempted kidnapping in the first degree, a felony. He had no prior criminal record, works as a forklift driver at a Seattle bakery. He was booked into the Pierce County Jail, from which he was later released on his own recognizance. A judge has ordered him to have no contact with the victim in any ladybug outlet. So this guy tries to kidnap a young woman while drunk and high, and cops arrest him, and he's out that same day with no bail. Pierce County, Washington, safe place to let your daughters work. Wendell said, I've heard that wife Glenn made love to him while boiling eggs, and being happy, he asked why. Then she said, the egg timer is broken. You don't need an egg timer at my age, Wendell. You need some nitroglycerin handy. So you try and kidnap a bikini girl. I would like to know what his status is. I know it's probably profiling, it's probably racist, but he was misogynistic, old whatever the hell it is. All right, so we've had all of our animal stories. Let's get another one. A rabid animal on the loose forces a quarantine in American town. Breaking news. Officials in New Jersey have issued a warning about rabid animals in a southern county neighboring Philadelphia. Ooh, it's those Philadelphia animals. The county's sixth animal to be confirmed rabid was a skunk that had interacted with two dogs in a resident's backyard. Officials in Gibbsboro, Camden County, stated the skunk did not injure the dogs, which could have infected them with the rabies virus, but the owner could not confirm whether one of her dogs had been vaccinated. Both dogs received rabies boosters after the encounter. However, they still need to be quarantined to watch for any rabies symptoms, including personality changes and seizures. One dog will be quarantined at home for 45 days, while the other, which may not have been vaccinated, will have to be quarantined for 4 months in a state-approved animal facility. Wow, that's going to be a bill. Commissioner Virginia Betteridge, liaison to the Camden County Health Department, said in a statement, although rabies is a serious illness, it can be prevented by early treatment. If you have ever been bitten or scratched by a wild animal, it is important that you seek immediate medical attention. And that shouldn't be a wild animal. It should be any animal. And it's important to get your dog or cat, get off my screen, vaccinated, because when they bite somebody, like a firefighter responding, they won't have to be in fear of having some disease. But if you don't, your puppy's going to go to the clink for a while. There have not been any human exposures to the fatal virus in the state this year, according to the county officials. But unvaccinated pets that come into contact with rabid animals and become infected can pass the virus on to their owners through bites. So you hear that, Wendell? Do not bring stray Bigfoots home if you don't know if they've been vaccinated. Over the past months, dozens of county governments from Maine to Wyoming have issued urgent warnings to residents and tourists about a surge in rabies cases among local wildlife. It's not local if it's from Maine to Wyoming. Local is like your neighborhood, maybe a county or city, but Maine to Wyoming, that's not local. Putting communities at risk. On one day before the skunk was discovered, a family dog at Barrington, New Jersey, which is about 15 minutes away, killed a raccoon that was later tested positive for rabies. They are such nasty little creatures. 3 family members and both family dogs were potentially exposed to the rabies. They were advised to consult their physician about rabies post-exposure prophylactic treatment, which consists of a fast-acting antibody shot by a 4-dose series of shots administered over a 14-day period, which I want to add is very painful. Without a quick response to a bite or scratch from a rabid animal, the disease is nearly 100% fatal. Over 90% of the animal cases reported to the CDC are in wildlife. 1 to 3 Americans die of the disease every year. Ones they don't report turn into a werewolf. I'm just saying. There are typically fewer than 10 cases of rabies in the U.S. each year. In recent years, the number of cases has ranged from 1 to 5. 4 other animals, including a cat and 2 additional raccoons, have been confirmed to have rabies in Jersey this year. Although the U.S. eliminated a specific canine rabies virus variant in 2007 through widespread vaccination of pets, the disease itself remains a threat. It's still transmitted by wildlife, including bats, raccoons, and skunks. During a vacation to the Glen Canyon National Recreation Facility in Arizona, Erica Kahn was photographing the night sky when a black bat flew directly into her mouth. I remember that story. Understanding the severe risk of rabies, her doctor father insisted she get the life-saving post-exposure vaccine series immediately. How does a bat fly into your mouth? That's just crazy. So, apparently it's not covered by health insurance. I should have made for workers' comp pay for it. But as she was between jobs and uninsured, Khan urgently purchased a private health insurance policy, believing she had secured coverage for the necessary medical treatment. She didn't know as soon as it started that the standard 30-day waiting period, because it was pre-existing. She was left responsible for $20,000 in medical bills for the rabies vaccination. The insured denied all of her claims. Vaccinated pets can contract the virus from these animals and transmit it to humans through their saliva. While the human deaths are rare in the U.S., the risk of exposure appears to be rising. This summer, more than 200 tourists from 38 states were potentially exposed to the nearly always fatal virus by bat colony at Wyoming Jackson Lake Lodge, prompting a massive health outreach effort. A separate incident earlier this month, a rabid fox attacked and bit 2 people in North Carolina who are now undergoing post-exposure treatment. Following a bite, the rabies virus invades the peripheral nerves and travels to the brain, causing severe inflammation that can be fatal. So, let's see. So we know it attacks the brainstem, which disrupts the vital control of breathing and heart rate, damages the brain, but also triggers severe symptoms, including aggression, hallucinations, and a fear of water caused by painful throat spasms. Once clinical symptoms emerge, the disease is always nearly fatal within days. Infected, that's good news, because they told me to wait till I showed signs and symptoms. Boy, the city sure was helpful. They just didn't want to pay the $20,000. And infected animals often exhibit erratic behavior, including biting themselves, excessive drooling, growling, and impaired coordination. Nocturnal animals such as foxes, raccoons, and bats may appear disoriented and active during the day. Rabid bats may be grounded or fly in erratic circles. In North Carolina earlier this month, a young mother was attacked by a rabid fox after stepping outside her home to investigate noises resembling a cat under her car. The fox immediately bit her leg. When she tried to defend herself, it bit her hand. After officers arrived and narrowly missed capturing the animal as it fled the nearby woods, they received a second call reporting a similar attack just a short distance away. A 77-year-old man had been bitten in the leg by the same fox. Deputies from Moore County Animal Services later located, captured, and euthanized the fox, which subsequently tested positive for rabies. Both victims received appropriate medical care for their injuries and potential exposure to the deadly virus. I remember, I think it was last summer, there was one loose in Fairfax County, and I'll have to dig. I think I still have the scanner recording. They had cordoned off Burke Park, which is like a county park, and closed it to the public. And so the county had police officers like in a they had a helicopter. I mean, they had like an ongoing mission to capture this SWAT, like a SWAT team to capture this fox. And so they had the park closed. They had a massive, I don't know what you'd call it, but they were all going into the woods looking for this thing. And you hear one officer key up and say, shots fired, I've been bit. And they said his supervisor asked where he was. Of course, the helicopter was right overhead, so they found him real quick. And they asked him how many shots he'd fired, because apparently they heard multiple shots. And he keyed up and he said, I think 2. And a few seconds later, he keyed back up and said, add 1 more to that. Apparently the thing got back up and was trying to be a zombie fox and attack him. So Wendell says, I wonder if any of those animals were in contact with any of the people I know up there. So that's probably where the animals got the rabies. It sounds like some of the people he knows. Poor fox. Well, 2 sheriff's deputies in Boone County were shot last night in Walton, Kentucky. Is Boone County in Walton, Kentucky? The suspect is dead. 2 Boone County deputies remain hospitalized after being shot in Walton, Kentucky on Thursday night, the Boone County Sheriff's Office said. Investigators said the suspected shooter, he apparently eliminated himself. That seems to be a trend. It happened at Town Creek Crossing Apartments on Service Road behind a Kroger's. Police were first called to the scene around 10 p.m. The sheriff's office said that the 2 deputies, both are in stable condition. One was shot in the chest and the other was shot in the leg. Deputies were called to the scene to initially serve an arrest warrant when the suspect opened fire. Police said the suspect died of a self-inflicted GSW at the scene after barricading himself inside. The suspect has not been identified. Residents of the apartment complex were evacuated, and nearby businesses were told to shelter in place around 1 a.m. Residents were able to begin to return to their home. SWAT members at the scene deployed gas canisters at the apartment complex, which residents could smell upon returning to their homes. Yeah. Both deputies were taken to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, and 1 deputy underwent a brief surgery. Both deputies who were shot are men and are seasoned veterans of the department. This is something that they themselves and their families, that this is the worst nightmare type of situation, said Boone County Sheriff's Lieutenant Philip Rigel. Investigators said the suspect fired multiple rounds at deputies, and they don't believe the deputies fired back. The Boone County Sheriff's Office said the deputies were wearing bulletproof vests when the shooting occurred. It probably saved their life, or at least one of their lives. Wendell says, poor fox, go away, whatever you are, Twitch, TikTok viewer, what I don't, you're a scammer. All right. So I'm sure you've heard about this today because it seems though the media is freaking out. Media freaks out over normal Secret Service provision for Camilla. John Nance Garner once observed from personal experience that the office of vice president wasn't worth, quote, a bucket of warm spit. Reportedly, Garner used a different noun at the end of the quote. That has changed somewhat in recent decades. It at least gets you a decent book contract, not to mention a nice pension and a few months of security protection, and the two may go together nicely for a promotional tour. How can she do a book when she can't even speak comprehensive sentences? It is the few months that are the issue, however. Normally, former presidents get Secret Service protection for life paid for by taxpayers, although they can opt out of it. Former VPs, well, they only get 6 months of Secret Service protection after leaving office, unless the president acts to extend it, and that brings us to, well, today, when the media freaked out over the fact that Trump treating Kamala Harris like any other vice president, despite the machinations of the Joe Biden regency, well, it was revoked. President Trump, CBS reports President Trump has revoked former President Kamala Harris' Secret Service protection. Oh, the bad man. ABC, breaking news, President Trump has revoked Secret Service protection. BBC, Donald Trump cancels Secret Service protection arranged by Joe Biden. NBC News, President Trump revoked Secret Service protection. Man, none of these headlines give any hint of the context of the decision. Yeah, shocking. It appeared to be an arbitrary act by a political opponent looking for a cheap shot at retribution. Only the headline from the Associated Press offered a hint at the actual issue involved. Breaking, President Trump revoked Secret Service protection for the former Vice President Harris after Biden quietly extended it. The quietly extended it is the real story here. It's funny how none of the others got that. We'll go back and look at what news sites that was. Former vice presidents typically get a federal government protection for 6 months after leaving office, while ex-presidents do so for life. But another person familiar with the matters says then President Joe Biden quietly signed a directive that had extended protection for Harris beyond the 6 months. Senior Trump officials said an executive memorandum was issued Thursday to the Department of Homeland Security, ending Harris's security detail and security services. Those had been extended from 6 to 18 months by the Biden administration, so they would have ended in July of 2026, but now they will be terminated on Monday. So the story is actually that the Biden administration gave Harris a stealth extension of taxpayer-funded benefits to which she was not entitled. If Congress wants to extend those benefits to former VPs, then let Congress propose and pass those into statute as amendments to the pension system for the former presidents and vice presidents. Otherwise, Harris is no longer a public servant, and she can use her own resources for personal protection rather than sponge off the taxpayers. She was good at that for 4 years. Trump simply canceled the illegitimate extension and restored the normal post office benefit limitations to which all VPs are subjected. The protection racket media clearly wants to push another narrative. They want to paint Trump as a revenge-driven authoritarian using his authority to punish his political opponents. Oddly enough, after spending 4 years missing the real authoritarians in the White House, actually doing that to Trump and his allies, they wanted to do their jobs as reporters. They'd be asking questions as to why Biden or whoever ran the auto pen expanded those benefits in the first place. The PRM's mission isn't to report as much as is to amplify progressive elite propaganda messaging, and that's exactly what they attempted this morning again. And the editor commented on this when he published it. The mainstream media continues to deflect, gaslight, spin, and lie about President Trump, his administration, and conservative. There we go. So this website seems to be pretty good, and we'll probably start using it frequently. It is called Hot Air. So AP appears to be one of the only ones that you can trust, because there you have NBC, and there you have BBC, and there you have ABC, and you have CBS. So basically all the American media, ABC, NBC, CBS, and the British, and NBC and the British media. It doesn't show Fox. I would like to know what their headline was, but yeah, it was 4 months. And one of the headlines I read said that it was disintegrating her book signing tour. No, her book company can pay for it. So, and Wendell, I believe you're correct. He probably just signed it with a pile of other stuff and didn't really realize what he was signing. Well, it could have been an auto pen. So the Hot Air, that seems to be a pretty decent website. I've used them a couple times. I'm going to start using them more often because they show you the headlines from the other companies and then they show you the facts. So there you go. I'm surprised I haven't been attacked in my chat. All right. So long-time listeners know what I'm talking about. Why is it not listening to me? Stop. Work. Okay. Well, it's not going to work. And I don't know why. All right. Well, we'll go on. Trump's DC force thwarts juvenile school shooter threat hoarding 7 weapons. Let me read that again. Trump's DC force thwarts juvenile school shooter threat hoarding 7 weapons. This was a juvenile who was a risk to not himself, but the community in Washington. Now, I wonder if we'll see this headline elsewhere. Federal authorities arrested a young person on Wednesday evening in Washington, D.C., who had threatened violence towards a school. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt revealed during Thursday's briefing. Following the briefing, a White House official shared data with the Daily Wire that clarified the juvenile was arrested in Ward 7 for threats to kidnap and injure, as well as receiving stolen property, possession of a large capacity feeding device, must be a big spoon, and unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. Authorities executed a search warrant. Wow, so they did it legally and recovered 7 firearms from this juvenile who was arrested after an investigation was initiated based on social media posts. Oh man, we can catch them sometimes, can't we? Social media posts allegedly threatening violence towards a school. But we missed it on the other guy in Minnesota. Wonder why that was. Chris, got any idea? Leavitt shared the news of arrest after being asked by Iris Tao, a White House reporter, to the new Tang Dynasty television about American parents who might be concerned for their children's safety after the Minneapolis shooting, which took place Wednesday morning around 8:30 a.m., when a transgendered identifying man named Robert Westman fired through the windows of the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis as students attended daily mass on their first day of school. I can't post on video images of bang sticks. I can't use certain words, but he had posted pictures of his weapons, his thoughts, his manifesto had been up for so long. The media found it before the police found it. Why? I wonder why. We completely, totally understand the concerns of parents across the country, she responded. This tragedy is heartbreaking. As a parent myself, there are no words to describe the heartbreak that these families must be enduring, which is why President and First Lady have encouraged everyone to continue to pray for these families and these victims, and why this administration is focused on removing public safety threats from our community. And this was a juvenile who was a risk to him, not just himself, but the community here in Washington. And he was removed from the community last night because of the law enforcement efforts of this administration. The press secretary also pointed to the statement that First Lady Melania Trump put on Wednesday, saying that the tragic mass killing in Minnesota illuminates the need for preemptive intervention in identifying school shooters. Early warning signs are often evident with many individuals exhibiting concerning behaviors and making violent threats online prior to their actions. We encourage all Americans, as the old saying goes, if you see something, say something, Leavitt emphasized. If you see warning signs or threats, report to law enforcement. That doesn't make sense. If you see something, say something. If you see warning signs or threats, report it to law enforcement. This administration, federal law enforcement, will be taking these reports seriously. They will be treated as a law enforcement emergency, and we will act accordingly. The arrest of the juvenile Wednesday night in D.C. was one of 105 that night, including 32 illegal aliens. That brings the total number of arrests in Washington, D.C. to 1,283 since August 7th, when President Trump enforcement efforts began. Authorities arrested a known Sir 13 gang member Wednesday evening, and many other illegal alien arrested had prior criminal histories for assault, battery on a family member, driving under the influence, fleeing detention, and injuring officers upon recapture. Other Wednesday night arrests were for assault on a federal officer, assault with the attempt to rob, possession with the intent to distribute, theft carrying a pistol without a license, domestic violence, assault with a dangerous weapon, and more. Authorities also located a missing child and turned that child over to local authorities, the White House official shared to the Daily Wire. So they found a child at risk as well and saved it. Good for them. Good for them. It's a bad thing, right? It's a bad thing. Will you do it now? Yeah, there you go. I don't know. WTOP News reports this can be replicated. The White House touts a 30% drop in D.C. crime as the mayor admits federal surge is helping. President Donald Trump's law enforcement surge is helping combat crime in D.C. as a recent White House figures indicates the notable drop. Numbers released by the White House press secretary Carolyn Leavitt on Thursday indicate that total crime in the nation's capital is down by 19%, as violent crimes saw a 30% decline. When it came to carjacking incidents and homicides, she added they have both plummeted by 67 and 57% respectively. This can be replicated in other crime-ridden cities across the nation, she said. The district's crime card /dc.gov show that the crime overall has been trending down since August. According to police data, there were 2,304 violent crimes in 2024. So far in 2025, there have been 1,680, which is down 27%. While DC mayor has acknowledged the city has reported fewer gun crimes, fewer homicides, and extreme reduction in carjacking since the federal assistance started, she also noted that it's causing fear and anxiety in some communities. As a result of the extra law enforcement, she said, there's a tremendous anxiety in the district. When I look and see residents putting things on social media or neighborhood chats, I know that there is a lot of anxiety. The mayor's comments came during a news conference Wednesday as the surge of officers and National Guard troops approaches the end of the third week. Bowser met with Trump on Wednesday for what she characterized as a courtesy meeting and also had conversations with Chief of Staff Susie Wiles and U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. We greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance the MPD has been able to do with the city, she said. During the hour-long briefing with reporters, Bowser said that DC police need about 500 more officers to reach the 4,000 that the city leaders think is necessary for staffing. Between August 7th and August 26th, there were 4 carjackings compared to 31 during the same period last year, an 87% reduction. According to the city data, there is a 47% drop in burglaries and 38% drop in homicides. City Administrator Kevin Donahue citing a fairly precipitous declines in robberies, carjacking, and where'd that go? Where did it go? Let me catch up here somewhere because I don't know where the hell it went. Robbery, carjacking, overall violent crimes of the city. Said the ways to consider data is by recognizing we already had a good momentum coming in when the federal surge has made it better. City leaders said crime has been at a 30-year low, claim that Trump has described his descriptions have been inaccurate, and she previously told WTOP the DOJ reviews DC crime data. While she said the law enforcement surge is helping, she criticized National Guard troops on the streets and the immigration and customs enforcement agents en masse as things that are, quote, not working. Many people are still calling police for emergencies. Bowser said the city doesn't have data on who isn't calling. 81% of Americans see crime as a major problem, according to Associated Press survey. 45% of adults think it's either completely or somewhat unacceptable for the federal government to take control of local police departments. Well, I don't think they're taking total control. Police chief, because they were sued and told they couldn't. So Police Chief Pamela Smith and DC police officers are still doing community outreach, but clearly there is some hesitation, obviously, with some of the community members, which is very important to me, that my team, myself, that we are educating our communities on the relationship we have with our federal partners. Trump invocated the Home Rule Act, which ends in 30 days and will need Congress to approve it. So we will be prepared to take advantage of additional federal officers to focus on the beautification to support the federal task force. But when that time period expires, we will be prepared as a city. She said she launched the Emergency Operations Center. Well, sure hasn't helped her 911 center because it's in chaos right now, according to my friends there. She's planning to issue a mayor's order to describe how the Operations Center will continue to engage with the federal Clean, Safe, and Beautiful Task Force to make sure the task force resources continue to be strategically deployed in the district. Several D.C. council members were highly critical of her comments. Ward 5 council member Zachary Parker said city leaders should be unequivocal that the federal surge in officers in D.C. and deployment of National Guardsmen on our streets are dangerous, unnecessary, and an affront to home rule. We ought to be real clear about that, real clear. Ward 1 council member Brianne Nadeau said residents are angry that our limited autonomy is being eroded. There's nothing welcome about this. But she pushed back the criticism on Wednesday's remarks. Since the federal law enforcement surge, Bauer said, it has been my focus. We didn't ask for any federal officers. We're driving crime down, but while they're here, how can we most strategically use them to accelerate the work MPD has done? The next step is figuring out the exit program. I said this yesterday from the emergency that the president declared. Part of that plan includes an EOC that has 4 work streams that prepare the districts to either request more or different federal law enforcement or receive the services of federal law enforcement in a way that enhances MPD. Yep, we need an exit strategy. She again Thursday criticized the impact of ICE agents en masse across the streets and National Guard troops monitoring city streets. All of these things are part of our post-emergency planning, so the framework that we will put in place so there can be no confusion about whether there is an emergency is needed. We're about whether an emergency is needed. Meanwhile, Bowser said the start of the law enforcement surge, 81 residents have entered the city's shelter system. The city doesn't know where they are coming from. She said they're planning a census count on Thursday. There's no names collected. She said the city administrator said it is really just individuals identifying those who are unsheltered or homeless on this particular night. Weather this year has been keeping criminals home. It's been pretty hot, Wendell. We're going to talk about that in a minute, too. Trump administration in talks to House ICE agents at Naval Station in Great Lakes. Could National Guard troops go there as well? Well, it could be going to great mistakes. The Trump administration has begun talks on housing ICE agents at a North Suburban naval base to support immigration law enforcement's efforts in Chicago. Despite reports, there is also a request to lodge National Guard troops there. Navy officials said that has not happened. The Department of Homeland Security has reached out to administration at Naval Station Great Lakes to talk about infrastructure and the logistical help for ICE staff to assist with immigration efforts in the Chicago area. The Chicago Sun-Times reported on Wednesday that the 1,600-acre naval base there also has been approached by the potential to use National Guard soldiers as part of President Trump's plans to send troops to Chicago. A spokesperson for the naval base said they have not received any official requests to support the National Guard. City leaders in North Chicago, which neighbors the naval station, say they are also not aware of any troop deployment there. Governor Pritzker said he's read the reports that the National Guard mobilization has been discussed, but his office has not received any direct communication from the Trump administration. We've received no calls from the White House, from the federal government, from anybody who might be in charge of some sort of troop movement. They don't seem to want to communicate at all. That's odd because it sounds like they're trying to do is march right over the local police. You know, we used to hear that the President of the United States supported local law enforcement. We support local law enforcement, but now it appears that he wants to ignore them altogether or do just whatever he wants at a whim on that day. With no official word yet from the White House about the president's suggestion he could deploy National Guard in Chicago as part of his plan to crack down on crime, Pritzker, who has vehemently opposed sending troops to Chicago, said no communication and no mobilization is good news for now. Right now, it's hard to tell. We haven't seen any troop movement yet. We also haven't seen any call-up of our National Guard. But we are on guard, hoping that does not happen, Pritzker stated. On Thursday, Mayor Brandon Johnson will brief members of the city council on how the city would handle a National Guard deployment if it happens. So far, Alderman Anthony Napolinato is the first and only city council member to publicly support bringing in the National Guard. Even if the president were to send the National Guard, those troops would not have the power to make arrests or act as a police substitute, and most likely be working near federal buildings or in tandem with federal agents from ICE to the U.S. Marshal to the FBI, similar to how they're being deployed in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. At Federal Plaza in downtown Chicago on Wednesday, Latino leaders and immigrant rights groups stood together to say sending troops to Chicago would serve only to intimidate Chicagoans. Did I say that right? Chicagoans, and create fear, not safety. Chicago is going to be clear to this president who tries to identify ways to be able to silence us, to silence dissent, but the attacks on Chicago and Illinois are not all about safety and security. We know that. They're about trying to terrorize the resistance. Really? Really? Peace and safety? That's terrorizing you? Wow. You're all for it, though. Well, never mind. State lawmakers and immigrant rights advocates said the president's plan is less about crime and more about control. What worries me is the most chilling effect that it would have on our streets, especially our immigrant families, said Illinois State Representative Norma Hernandez. But one prominent Chicagoan disagreed. Businessman and frequent mayoral candidate Willie Wilson, who lost his son to gun violence 15 years ago on Wednesday, urged the president to deploy the National Guard in Chicago. We have tried everything else. It has not worked, he said. I don't agree with everything the president does. Let me be clear. I don't want to agree with everything the Democrats do. Let me be clear. But this one, he has 100% of my support. Don't reject help to anybody that can save lives. Hello? Yes. Despite the fact that National Guard troops could not serve as law enforcement capacity, Wilson said bringing them in is worth a shot, arguing while crime is down, progress has not been sufficient. There you go. All right. And in a weird headline, I got this one. It was sent across. 2 firefighters arrested by Border Patrol at Washington's Bear Gulch Fire. This occurred the other day. U.S. Border Patrol agents arrested 2 firefighters working on the Bear Gulch Fire on Washington's Olympic Peninsula Wednesday, accusing them of being in the U.S. illegally. U.S. Customs and Borders officials said in a statement Thursday that the 2 men were arrested after several discrepancies emerged as officials verified the identities of contracted workers at the fire. Immigration officials said that one of the men had previously received an order of removal. Neither federal nor state officials have publicly named the men. David Bueno Diaz is a crew boss leading one of the few freelancer teams combating the Bear Gulch fire and witnessed the arrest. He said the lead fire management team sent workers out to cut wood Wednesday morning, and once they were finished, the division lead was going to meet them out there and see what other tasks they could do. Instead, they were met with Border Patrol to inspect the crews. The previous seasons were never like this, but I know the world's changing, Diaz says. This was not a good way to experience this, but now we know what to expect in the future. The teams he worked with are composed of visa workers from Mexico and U.S. citizens, including members of the Confederate Tribes of Umatilla Indian Reservation in Oregon. Everybody works, no matter what ethnicity you are We're all here for the same thing. We're all here to help the communities out, help the forest, and just protect and serve, he said. The arrest filed an employment verification requested by the Bureau of Land Management, according to a statement from U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. The Bureau of Land Management was terminating the contracts of two companies working on the fire, ASI Arden Solution and Table Rock Forestry. In a statement Thursday, Senator Patty Murray slammed the arrests as unnecessary and demanded immediate answers. Wow. As to why the men were arrested on the job and what immigration enforcement policy is during active wildfires. Here in the Pacific Northwest, wildfires can and have burned entire towns to the ground, she wrote. We count on our brave firefighters who put their lives on the line to keep our community safe. This new Republican policy to detain firefighters on the job is as moral as it is dangerous. Boy, that's an overreach with that statement. Detain firefighters on the job. Okay, well, let's first be clear. They were contract workers. They weren't firefighters. They were firefighters in title, but they were not technically firefighters. After the arrests were first reported by the Seattle Times, Washington Governor Bob Ferguson posted to social media that he was deeply concerned about the situation involving two individuals helping to fight fires in Washington state and had directed his team to get more information. Okay, I'm not worded wrong. Rachel Lipsky, a public information officer from the Western Washington Type 3 Incident Management Team, said the group is aware of a Border Patrol operation at the Bear Gulch fire, but it's not interfering with efforts to contain the fire. The wildfire started July 6th on the north side of Lake Cushman near Mount Rose in Olympia National Forest. As of Wednesday, the blaze has 13% contained and has burned a total of 8,960 acres, according to a press release from the incident management team. The exact cause of the fire remains under investigation, but firefighters know it was human-caused. Eco-terrorists. Immigration enforcement at the site of a wildfire response is unusual. During the 2021 wildfire season, Department of Homeland Guidance stated that absence exigent circumstances, immigration enforcement will not be conducted at locations where disaster and emergency response and relief is being provided, such as along evacuation routes, sites for sheltering, or the distribution of emergency supplies, food, or water, or registration for disaster-related illnesses, or the reunification of families or loved ones. They've requested updates to see if they can get more information, but it could be something as simple as a paperwork error to where they were here illegally, because it sounds like one had already been told to leave. And apparently he didn't. So, all right, map and list of cities hosting nationwide anti-Trump protests on Labor Day. We got a couple of these. I'm not going to highlight them all. Just want to point out that they're everywhere. I mean, we have Montgomery, Alabama, all the way down through Atlanta, shocker. Knoxville, which really surprised me. They're all over the South. They're all over the West. Burlington, Vermont, there's a shocker. Washington, Wyoming, West Virginia. You can go see these. I'll pull up a couple maps, but you can see this one on the Mayday Strong website and see how many. There's 900 protests in 50 states. That's just this one site. I'm going to show you. Okay, Wendell, have a great one. We'll see you soon. I think you're the only one watching me, Wendell. So bye-bye. Have a good weekend, Wendell. We see that this is just from one site, Mayday Strong website. We will go over here and see there's another website called Mobilize that has even more. And you can go see them on their website, depending on where you live, or if you want to go to another website. So there's really more than that. You can go to Find a Protest, and there are hundreds of them. Thank you, Denise. I figured you were. I'm just being funny to Wendell. We can see, if you want to enjoy your weekend protesting, you get several websites to go find one of the hundreds of different ones. So, but yeah, they're everywhere. Even down in my Key West. What? Oh, they're on Key Largo. They're not on Key West. Well, let's see. They might be on Key West. Marathon. Workers over billionaires. Monday, September 1st. All right. Well, what are they going to protest? May Day Strong. This is one of the May Day Strong ones. They want to defeat the orange rat, or defeat the orange rot. They want to defeat the orange rot that threatens our country. All right. They're going to rise up to oppose, depose, and take back the reins of government from the pretenders who sit in Washington, D.C. and across the country, degrading people, places, and laws. We will rally against the disgusting regime with our voices and our signs and our wills. This is a long battle that we intend to win. Gird your loins, clear your calendar. What the hell does that mean? Gird your loins, clear your calendars, take an oath. I want you to take an oath, to join the resistance, block and destroy the authoritarian regime in D.C. and across the region. Stop cooperating. Stop supporting, stop buying, stop watching, stop showing up in as many ways as you can. Stop the Trump regime. Support Costco. Yeah, no, won't be shopping there anytime soon. So, yeah, they're going to stop the billionaire takeovers. They're converting government into the Pavilion slush fund. Have they seen Pelosi? Have they seen Schiff? Have they seen some of these people? What? What? What about AOC? She came in as a bartender. Now she's a billionaire. What? Oh, Jesus. These people are idiots. So yeah, if you want to go use your weekend to join a protest, by all means, go have fun. You can help stop the billionaire takeover. And I wonder what billionaire's paying for all this. So, all right, we're going to move on. We're just going to move on. Can't make stuff up sometimes. Offer safety? No, you don't want peace. You don't want safety. Oh, but after 9/11, you were willing to accept any peace and safety. But now you don't want it. So, all right, whatever. All right, so this is our FEMA Daily Operations Briefing. It comes to us dated Friday, August 29th at 8:30 a.m., as was presented to the president this morning. Somebody has to keep me in line, Denise. Yes. Events they are monitoring. Well, they're monitoring heavy rain, flash flooding in the southern plains, central, northern plains, lower Mississippi Valley to the southeast. We still have the one disturbance in the tropics in Atlantic side, and on the central eastern, there's one there, or two there as well, and one is still gaining chance to become a numbered storm. Her named storm, I guess, wouldn't be numbered. Western Pacific looks pretty clear, and there's two out in the central eastern Pacific. The one to the furthest west, well, that's the one that stands about an 80% chance in the next 10 days. And then the Atlantic, well, there's one out there, but it's way out off of the coast of Alaska, and currently it is only at a 30% chance to develop. The national forecast, well, North Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas, you can see some heavy rains and some flooding with some serious storms. Four corner states, including Colorado, New Mexico, and a portion of Texas, well, you could see some serious rains and heavy flooding. Of course, extended lightning and storms with that as well. Now down in the Gulf of America, almost all the Gulf states, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida in the Panhandle can anticipate some heavy rain and storming today. Now, there's going to be spotty showers in the northeast and intermittently as these storms move across the country from the north to the south and from the east to from the west to the east. Tomorrow, well, it looks like Texas and New Mexico are going to have the most severe chance of storm. And then looking up to the Midwest, it looks like it's still going to be in the Dakotas and Nebraska. Sunday, as that cool down starts to come in, it's going to push that down into the Gulf of America and to the southern border. We'll take a closer look at it in just a second. The hazards outlook, well, up in Washington, the hazard is high heat. That's also going to be causing lots of red flag warnings for Washington State. That's going to extend down into the northern Oregon range. We see there's going to be heavy rain pretty much in the New Mexico, Texas area of the border in southwest, and the heavy rains, as we talked about, in the Gulf of America, extending around the Panhandle and going out through central Florida. Alaska, well, you want to be involved in this as well. You can anticipate some heavy rains as well if you're listening. Wildfire summary, well, they've made 6% on the Jefferson Duchess fire in Oregon. It's now 13% contained. And the Windy Rock fire in Montana has 0% containment. We'll look at fires here in just a minute. The major heat risk in the West is going to amplify the red flag warnings. So they're working out there, and they're going to be working with the heavy rains associated with the floods and flooding down into the south. So they have 17 joint field offices, 58 major disasters with 7 emergency declarations. We're still repopulating and doing 12 direct housing missions with 9 supported disasters. That means they're getting multi-teams in, and 6 joint recovery offices. So can go, if you want to break down all the numbers and go over what and when and which ones, you can go to FEMA and look at the exact breakdown. So, all right, as we always do, let's look at the president's daily schedule, and let's refresh this to make sure nothing's changed. But it appears that there are no public events on schedule today. And let's look back in time from yesterday. And it doesn't appear anything changed yesterday. They called a lid at 6 o'clock last night. I'm not sure of what executive orders the president signed. But let's hop over here to WRC and see if they got anything for us, because they always tell us. All right, so live updates. Fed's Cook makes her case in court. Trump ends Harris protection. He didn't end it. Her time was up. Let's be clear, WRC. You are NBC4. You're in Washington. You should know this. So the independence of the Federal Reserve could be decided by a court battle over Trump's attempt to remove Lisa Cook as one of its governors. The Trump administration tapped Jim O'Neill, a deputy of Robert F. Kennedy's Jr., to lead the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention after the president fired the CDC director, Susan Menarez. Her firing prompted at least 4 other top CDC officials to leave. I'm not going to go into that story in depth, but the 4 employees that left, just go take a look at them. The one scientist that had the most tenure, the most education, we'll say, was a devout Satanist and liked to extend his theology onto his coworkers. He was one of the other 3. You can go look and do your homework and see what great people they were. So here's my suggestion to you. Bye. Trump has revoked U.S. Secret Service protection from former Vice President Camilla. No, that's not true. It ends. He just didn't let President Biden's auto pen stamp go. So, and all that money she gave to, Rihanna, Obama, Oprah, I don't know. There's a whole list of them. Couldn't she use some of that money to do this? Or maybe her book could. She's going to be a billionaire from her book, right? Federal authorities plan to surge agents in Chicago starting next week to scale up operations to arrest unauthorized immigrants, 2 law enforcement officials told NBC News. Well, maybe that's one story they are going to be correct on. Starting today, all international packages will face tariffs ranging from 10 to 15%, or a flat duty between $80 and $200, depending on the country of origin. That's going to cause for some mayhem with Temu. So we're waiting. Wait, it is end. Wait a minute. There's 3 new updates here. Hold on. American Bitcoin, and why is Eric Trump touting it in Hong Kong? I don't know what Bitcoin is, so I guess I should learn that. Kennedy addresses rattled CDC staff. Well, there's a new boss in charge every 4 or 8 years. Texas Governor Greg Abbott signs new congressional maps into law. And the Federal Reserve hearing ends with no ruling from a judge. All right, well, we'll see what that means. Cook asks the two sides to discuss whether she can preserve the status quo of keeping her in her role while she considers the merits of the legal fight. There were no clear timelines for when or if that could occur. Trump had lunch with Smithsonian Secretary amid push to influence museum content. Interesting photo they chose to use. Trump blocks $4.9 billion in foreign aid approved by Congress. Said he would not be spending $4.9 that was approved by for foreign aid. Trump moves to rest on a tool that's nearly not used in 50 years, known as pocket rescission. A president submits a request to Congress to not spend approved funds towards the end of the fiscal year so that Congress can't act on the request in the 45-day time frame, and the money goes unspent. The fiscal year draws to a close at the end of September. Such a move, as standardized by the White House, could effectively bypass Congress on key spending choices and potentially wrest some control over spending from House and Senate. All right. Netanyahu blasts Cindy McCain as over Gaza humanitarian aid. Cindy McCain, the head of the World Food Program, for her recent comments alleging the families of Gaza are starving amid famine. And judge questions Lisa Cook's attorney about a case for emergency relief. And new congressional maps will test the Latino vote with a 2026 election. Talked about that. Didn't revoke it. Let's see if they got any truth in it. Vice President is grateful to the United States Secret Service for their professionalism, dedication, unwavering commitment to the safety, the advisor said. But the Trump revoked the Harris Secret Service detail, eyeing the vice presidents typically only get 6 months when they leave office. Border Czar Tom Holman hints at a crackdown on crime and undocumented immigrants in Chicago. Trump border czar Tom Holman suggested this morning that the administration will soon expand its effort to address crime in Chicago. Chicago is coming along with other sanctuary cities. President Trump is committed that we're going to focus and prioritize sanctuary cities because that is where the problem is. Feds plan to boost immigration enforcement in Chicago next week. And let's see. The court battle for the Federal Reserve, that's been an issue. Vance cites mental health crisis and remarks about seeking out root causes of mass shootings. One of the things that worries me is I've seen some people already saying that there are ways that AI can help with this. But the ways that I don't like are they want to pretty much put all of social media, most of the internet, and our personal communications under the auspice of AI for our safety. In other words, anything you post will be scanned by AI, and if it's flagged for whatever the flag reason is, then someone will show up at your door. I'm not sure that I like that idea, but we'll see how they spin it and see how it goes. I definitely don't like the fact that the government wants to listen into all of our communications. That is definitely an overreach. Let's see. Live updates. Trump, RFK Jr., CDC questions. Swirl and shut down. That's the live press conference going on at the moment. And they launch a probe into Trump's son-in-law over alleged wedding deal. What? Was he not allowed to get married? What happened there? His cousin brokered a deal with a Saudi businessman to provide appearances of access to the Trump family. Let's see. Through his cousin, an invitation to wed Tiffany Trump for Saudi businessman Abdul Alam in exchange for $100,000. President Trump attended the wedding in 2022, Mar-a-Lago residence, along with other members. This revelation, if accurate, could represent a corrupt and reckless attempt by the Trump family to leverage proximity to Donald Trump for personal enrichment. Okay. Ernst expected to retire from the Senate and forego the election. Johnson pressed on whether National Guard should be sent to Louisiana, his district. Texas lawmakers advance abortion pill restrictions. Johnson says there will probably be a vote on the Epstein files. Great. It's fine. They know all about it, but we don't. Must see SEC lawsuit dismissal over Twitter stake disclosure. And Abbott signs the map in. And let's see. This has got to do with Russia. I'm just kind of scanning these headlines to see if anything. Trump blasts administration for unusual pocket rescission package. Well, if it was a law that you all could change, why haven't you changed it? Do your job. Let's put the CDC in uncharted waters. Just go do a deep dive on the people who walked out. I've got friends that work there. Go do a deep dive on them. You might see. Labor Day protests. I'm also thinking, this is just me thinking out loud, but if there's already boots on the grounds and there's going to be protests, could this be part of the reason we're seeing some of the boots on the grounds? I mean, maybe you do one before the other. I don't know. Schumer demands RFK Jr. firing over CDC chaos. Yeah, go look at the people. Go look at the people. Oh, Garcia's asked for a gag order on Pam Bondi and Nome. Oh, that's funny. They're asking a federal judge to issue a gag order against the two to bar them from making baseless public attacks against the El Salvadorian nation who was wrongfully deported to El Salvador. You mean the Salvadorian national who was taken back to his home country, where he's afraid to go because he murdered a rival gang member's mother. But he wants us to stop talking. Yay. Trump approval down. Well, okay. And Vance says Trump is in good shape, but he's ready to step up. Okay, this is an interesting headline. Vice President Vance said in a new interview that President Trump is in incredibly good health, but that he is prepared to step in as commander-in-chief if needed. Yes, terrible tragedies happen, Vance told the USA Today, but I feel very confident the President of the United States is in good shape. He's going to serve out the remainder of his term and do great things. And if, God forbid, there's a terrible tragedy, I can't think of better on-the-job training than what I have gotten in the past 200 days. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff going around about that shooting. Didn't revoke it. All right, so we've scrolled through most of the headlines there. And yeah, that guy right there. Do some deep dive on that guy right there. You will be shocked at some of the people, government employees. Trump policies on FEMA face scrutiny 20 years after Katrina. And let's see. Newsom's support surges among Democrats. Well, good for him. Trump flexes executive might over the economy. That's probably to do with his not allowing them to spend the money. All right, let's look at the weather briefing here, see if anything's changed. And, well, yes, it has. We see in Nebraska, in South Dakota, that severe weather chance has been increased as it has in Colorado, New Mexico, and down in the South, the Gulf of America. Chris says, nobody has seen health as incredible as his. Chris says, we will probably vote to let you all know if you have elected corrupt kid tortures, and we don't want it coming out. I haven't decided yet. Mike Johnson. No, the guy is a Satanist that has some very vocal things online. Very, very bad things. So we see here the severe weather tomorrow is going to continue in South Dakota, Nebraska, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. And then on Sunday, when that cooling comes in, looks as though probably only New Mexico will be facing the worst of the weather. Let's take a look at what's out there right now. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's do the tornado cast. And as I was coming on, there was a tornado already on the ground. I think it was in Florida. We'll take a look at those storms here in a minute. But it says that the chances of a tornado in Nebraska and South Dakota are elevated. High chance of wind today. That's down the Gulf of America and the Four Quarters states back up across the Oklahoma corner into Nebraska and South Dakota. And we see that a chance of hail is increased with these storms in the Midwest. So have your weather radios on, be weather prepared. Oh, here's a National Hurricane Center. I meant to update this. We see here the 7-day forecast. This is a disturbance in the Atlantic. I don't really look at the Pacific, specifically now because there's nothing there, but I really haven't had any fans or audience members request information per se. So if anybody wants it, I will certainly add it, but we usually are talking about the eastern section of the Atlantic. So we look at this. This has got a 30% chance of a cyclone forming the next 7 days. And they're talking about this is coming off the coast of Africa on Sunday, and the environmentalists could support some development, but it'll be slow because remember we talk about that dust. That dust has been so intense this year, so it has really stymied a lot of hurricane and cyclone activity. All right, let's now look at weather warnings. What do we got first up? Boom. We have a test message from Montgomery County, Maryland. Let's see. Flood warnings in New Mexico and Arizona and Connecticut, severe thunderstorms. Texas, flood advisory. Oregon, your air quality is going to be horrible up there. Special weather statements, that's from the storms in Florida. Special weather statements from Maine. Frost advisory for Minnesota. That's probably for Michigan. That's probably the very northern tip, just a tip. New Mexico, well, that's mudslides, rock slides, that type of thing. And flood advisories for New Mexico, Louisiana, Arkansas, and let's see, keep going down. Flood watch in Oklahoma and Texas, Puerto Rico, and Iowa and Oklahoma, more flood warnings. Extreme heat in Puerto Rico and Georgia, South Carolina. Well, you're going to get some flood warnings and floods coming through from high rains later today. And I'm going to scroll down here to see if there's anything severe at the moment. Because when we went live, there was a a tornado on the ground, I believe, on the Atlantic coast of Florida. All right, I'm just seeing a lot of gale warnings and flood warnings. Flood advisory, mudslides in Alaska, rock slides, air quality in Idaho, South Dakota, and that's pretty much it. I don't see any severe stuff at the moment besides for a few special weather statements on strong thunderstorms. So let's zoom out here and let's enlarge this. Let's look and see at the big picture. Let's start out west. Well, maybe not that out west. And we see that right now, the West Coast looks pretty good. Up in Idaho and far northern Washington, there's some bands of storms moving through, and actually that's going into Montana. That's extending over into South Dakota and down into Wisconsin. We see also Salt Lake City just to their east going into Denver. There's another band, as well as coming into Albuquerque, New Mexico. Be on the lookout there. Down in the Gulf of America, well, from Houston all the way around through the Panhandle and out on the east coast of Central Florida, there's a band. Let's zoom in and see what we got down here in Baton Rouge. Well, that's a kicker of a storm right there in Baton Rouge. So it's going to be moving slowly to the east. It's going to continue over into Mobile, into Pensacola, Panama City, Tallahassee, and then look for it to extend down into Gainesville as it goes out and across into Jacksonville. Southern Georgia, well, that band right there is going to be affecting you, and you will anticipate some flooding and heavy storms from it. And let's see here. Whoop, wrong way. Got to scroll the mouse the right way here. Huh? You people don't come here for fair and accurate news. You come here for me to screw up and do silly things so you can make fun of me. And I'm okay with that. So there's the test message in Maryland, if anybody's worried. In Montgomery County, Maryland, they test their weather service every few hours. So there you go. One of the safest areas in the country, probably. So I'm being silly. I don't know if they're the safest area. But they certainly do test their weather warning systems. And we see these storms. They're going to be extending across New York. It looks as though New York, you're out of the crossfire right now. It's going to be Connecticut, then Rhode Island, and into your north up into Boston, in Montpelier, Burlington. These are moving to the east, Concord, New Hampshire, out through Maine and over to Nova Scotia. But remember, the band has got some other ones behind it here. Oh, yeah, look there, Wisconsin. I'm sorry, Michigan. There's the frost advisory right up there, just the tip. Looks like it's giving us the finger out of the mitten, just the tip. All right, so that's where the most severe stuff is. Go back down to Florida. I didn't see any tornado warnings we had earlier. That special weather statement, that's, what is that? Outside of Gainesville, outside of Jacksonville, to the east of Tampa, between Tampa and Orlando. I don't see anything down there that's tornadic or any type of tornado warning like they had when we were coming on the air. Looks like down in Homestead, there's a pretty good little cell. All right, let's zoom out for a minute. Let's travel over to our east and down under and see what type of rain is happening in Australia at the moment. And right now, well, it looks like Melbourne's got a little thunder shower there. Yeah, it looks like to the east of Melbourne, they've got a pretty good little squall coming off of the water. So that's got some electrical activity to it. Otherwise, spotty showers to the north. Sydney, some spotty showers. And on the east coast around the Golden Coast there's some spotty showers. Up in Emerald, there's a small little cell up there. And up towards Catherine in Northern Territory, there's one little cell. Darwin, you've got just a little tiny thunderstorm up there. And what do we have over here on the west in Broome? Well, there's a small little storm there, but it doesn't appear to have much electrical activity to it. And this appears to be a small cell right there to the west of Onslow. So Exmouth. So, but it doesn't appear to have a lot of electrical activity to it. So that's good news. And if you look up at Hong Kong, that tropical depression there, the monsoon, is moving into Thailand, and they're going to have some extreme flooding up in there. We can see that the electrical activity and the intensity of that storm is pretty kicking at the moment, and it's going to be making its way across across Thailand today. All right, let's zoom out. I wanted to take, for some other reason it come to mind, wanted to see if we see any storms out in the Atlantic that are drawing any type of precipitation. No, nothing. It looks pretty clear. I don't see anything out here. If you're planning a cruise for the weekend, the Atlantic looks pretty good, especially going south. So if you're going over to Bermuda, you might have some thunderstorms to deal with, but it's probably, if you got a cruise coming up, it's probably going to be good weather for you. So we can zoom in. Bermuda's got some storms around it, but none on the mainland. If you ever get a chance to go to Bermuda, it's a beautiful place to visit. So go check it out. Go check out their pink beaches. They're beautiful. But right now, you'll have some spotty showers if you're going to cruise out to Bermuda for a weekend holiday cruise. So, but it doesn't look like it'll be too bad. The Atlantic, now getting down towards the Caribbean, well, that's another story. It looks as though it's going to be very stormy around the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, and you can also anticipate extreme heat too. So if you're planning a cruise for the holiday weekend, be prepared for some extreme heat and some showers. It looks as though there's going to be some pretty good showers going to be going through the Caribbean. So if you're going to enjoy your holiday on a cruise there, I would advise taking sunscreen and, well, plenty of activities for the kids because you're going to have some rain. If you're going to cruise out on the west, well, you're going to probably have some pretty decent weather. I'm not sure how the gale warnings are if you're going up to do a cruise into Alaska. There's going to be some stuff up there. We'll look at the wind in a minute. I believe that's going to be a wind-driven storm right there affecting the Alaskan islands, causing all those gale watches. We'll check that out. Check and see what the speed of those winds are when we do, because that could be something to consider. Let's see. This is just the radar that we just pretty much did. This just shows this doesn't show the intensity. It just shows the amount of precipitation. So not much different. Let's switch because we're running out of time here. Ooh, we really are running out of time. Look at the lightning right now down in Houston and Baton Rouge. That's where the heaviest lightning is. Tallahassee to Jacksonville. And down around, if you're going to the Caribbeans this weekend on a holiday cruise, the Caribbeans is going to be rough sailing down in the Caribbeans and Turks. So if you do, just be prepared to stay inside and have something for the kids to do. Up from the northeast, from New York up through Boston, back over to Burlington, Vermont. That storm's got some kick to it. It's moving to the east slowly, though, so hopefully you won't have to deal with it for much longer. And let's look and see where the power outages are. No, nobody reporting more than 10,000. Texas, 8,848. Ohio, 8,118. Louisiana, that's probably due to the storms, 7,608. California, 7,299. Florida, 3,979. And over the weekend, space weather looks pretty good. A small storm, but nothing major space-wise. Look at temperatures real quick. Let's switch this to Fahrenheit. I'm going to have to get out of here soon because I'm running over time with the radio station, but take a quick look. Come on. Temperature. Fahrenheit is being slow today. Fahrenheit. All right. So we see, well, it looks like Houston 96, Phoenix 96. Those are the hot spots for the U.S. right now. Louisville 81, Chicago 67. That's a cool spot. Washington, D.C. 78, 82, Charlotte 83 in Atlanta. It's definitely hotter than that here. And Boston 74 up towards Burlington. Well, it's kind of cool in the 60s. And since I'm not sure if we're connected to the Australian station or not, we'll just do a quick little temperature thing because I'm running out of time today, so I don't want to go over too much. Come on. And we'll see that it's actually cooler down in Australia, except for Darwin, where it's near 80 degrees. It's in the 60s and 50s. Brisbane, 50s, and Sydney. Melbourne, you're in the 40s. Adelaide, 46. Perth, 48. Port Hedland, 65. And here's the heat risk summary. We see that it's up here, as we talked about, in Washington State and Northern Oregon, heading back over towards Idaho. Lots of code orange there. Code yellow for pretty much everywhere from the Mississippi to the left, back to the west. And if you're in the deep south, it's a code yellow, except for down in Texas and Florida, where it's code orange and code red. This weekend's going to be a hot one. So make sure to have sunscreen, plenty of hydration, plenty of Mountain Dew, if that's your beverage of choice. We see it's a pretty wind-free day in the U.S., and notice the shift in the winds coming off of Africa, how they're moving now. They're going towards the East Coast in a westerly manner, but they're moving more to the south as they do so. So once again, that's helping us out some with directing any of those tropical disturbances. Let's go up here to Alaska and take a quick look at that and see what the wind speeds are up there. It looks like it's pretty quick. It's saying that 37 miles an hour. See, it really looks like it's larger than that. So look on the west side. Usually that's where it's 36. All right, so it looks like it's much more than that, 40s. All right, so anywhere that little tropical depression right there between Alaska and Russia has got some pretty decent wind to it in the, we'll just say 40s. Look down towards windy seas. If you're going out to Bermuda this weekend, well, it's going to be pretty windy going out into the Atlantic. Down in the Caribbean, it's going to be pretty windy down there. If you're cruising for the weekend, and we'll go over here to Australia, not Antarctica. In Australia, you can expect a very windy day with winds coming out of the south and moving to the east and west. So air quality conditions, well, we talked about it a little bit, but pretty much the west coast up in the northwest, up into Canada, down in the Gulf Coast, those are all pretty much code yellows. Houston, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, the Panhandle, code yellow. And let's skip ahead and go over here to the air quality here. We're jumping ahead because I'm running out of time. And we see the dust is decreasing, but notice how those winds are pushing everything now down to the south. So hopefully that's going to continue to help us for the next couple days, and then the dust is easing up a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that. And let's see. As far as today, it is a moderate day for seismic activity. Take that for what you want. And let's see, I was going to look at where'd it go? Did I delete it? No, I didn't delete it. Most recent earthquake, 5.5 2 hours ago in Japan, and 5.2, that was yesterday. So there's that. Looking real quick. I don't see that there's any movement as far as that's actually changed. Any temporary flight restrictions going to the north up into New York are down into Florida. So it looks like the president plans on staying in the Washington, D.C. area. I look for this to expand over to the west as he moves out to play golf over the weekend, which I'm sure he'll do. Marine traffic. I looked at this just basically today to see if there was going to be much traffic for cruise ships, and didn't really see anything where they were moving or having any disruptions. So that's always good news. And this is the one I wanted to get to. Look and see the flights. This is going to be the busiest flight weekend, they say, of the year. We already look and see. I don't know the exact number, but that's a lot of flights up, people heading in and out. As we always do, let's take a quick gander and see if there's anything going on. That looks to be a high flyer. Oh, that's a helicopter. Chinook probably, well, he's probably taking some people. I hate to say what kind of people. Well, that one, they don't want to tell us what it is. How high up is that one? We're not even saying how high up it is that one is. That could actually be, since it's not moving, that could be a balloon. So it's something to keep an eye on. They're monitoring for something. And we see they're just moving some people and troops around. We have an E2. Well, that's picking up communications. And that's just moving people around. What is this one here? Did I look at this one? That's a C-17. And that's a dignitary of some sort. And I don't see any P8s that we were looking at the other day. More dignitaries up on the East Coast. That doesn't surprise me very much. Moving around for the weekend. There's an osprey. There's a rare bird to see. And it doesn't say what that one is. So it's not not telling us. It's probably a dignitary. That's definitely moving some people around. Interesting. All right, well, we're going to get out of here. I don't think I have much else to go on today. Unless y'all have any specific questions, I think I'm going to get us out of here with our normal bit defender. Let's see if they've got the sub hunters over in Europe. And I'm not seeing them, so there you go. But as always, these things will change throughout the day. And plus, they don't always tell you. So, like, there's another one. No, that's actually a plane. Disregard. They don't always tell you what when they're up in the air. So, it doesn't look like there's many tankers up right now, which means there's not many fighter aircraft, which that's not really surprising considering the time of day. So, but at any rate, everybody have a great holiday weekend. As far as I know, I will be back here on Monday. I don't think Jurgs and I have any special arrangements for shows. So as far as I know, I will see you on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. Sunday night, I will be back. We have the big chat. We're going to come up and talk about the TV show Big Brother. And if you're familiar with that, you know that we'll be talking about who won the head of house. I won't spoil any spoilers right now, but it's going to be a crazy, crazy week in that Big Brother house. So everybody have a great weekend. Stay hydrated. Take your sunscreen. If you go to a protest, make sure that you have some type of force multiplier or some type of pocket protection. Everybody have a great weekend. I will talk to you soon. Sportcat, well, I am out of here. Talk to you soon.